All right, happy Friday, everybody. It is January 28th, 2022, and we're going to get started here with our pre-market analysis on the S&P 500 futures market. Now, yesterday, another inside day, still trading within the last 2 or 3 days of price action. It's getting kind of sloppy out there. Still, we had a lot of really great trade setups throughout the day. Some really great reactions right off of some of our eye levels, and some really amazing trades all within this chop, despite it being, again, fairly sideways, ambivalent, and stuck within all this volume for the entire week here. So basically the same story this morning. Well, actually, let me just finish up from yesterday. The high we were looking at, expecting it to be resistance once again up at 44.15, was again essentially our first expected area of resistance up above. And then once we got up above that, we had, our eye levels up here around 44.29 and 44.31. That 29.50 should sound pretty familiar to you guys. So it was basically that area there, or 15 quarter, and you can see we came right up to 15 quarter and failed. And I believe that was a nice 15-point pullback, if I recall correctly. I got a trade off of there, and then all throughout this little area here, and then on the sell-off, plenty of opportunity. So came right into 15 quarter, right, and then tried to kind of chug above it. As you can see from the 10-minute perspective here, basically just some peaks above above 15. The bodies of the candles all basically right there, and then the failure from there right into our eye level down here at 43.08, for the bounce kind of at the end of the towards the end of the session there. And then we were basically crunched in a sideways market, and as you can see all throughout the overnight session, stuck within that little crunchy area here where we crunched around there and right in here, right? So this whole section crunched around and came back down to the bottom of the range from yesterday, and still playing around essentially within this whole little general area from about 4,300 to 4,340 here. So this morning, hey, what can we say? We're within an entire week of price action, the range of the entire week here. We have not pushed to lower lows. We have not really pushed, well, we did attempt to break out. Remember back on, I believe it was Wednesday, we said we started breaking the previous daily highs. We might expect the attempt for the breakout, but then we had our levels up above, including 45.50, and the market came up and failed from there, right, to almost to the tick, and came back into the range. So we attempted to break to the upside, did not happen, came up and failed again up at 15 yesterday, and haven't really been able to come back to the extreme bottom end of the range, and have been stuck in here. So your guess is as good as mine here. Stuck within this. We are, ever since we tried to break out now, having trouble making new highs. And of course, we are stuck down here below 50% of the previous day and our famous orange line. So that those two, being below those two right now, somewhat of a bearish clue. From the tick perspective, looking at our 200 and our VWAP, still, 200 is down below VWAP. Price is below both moving averages. These are all bearish clues right now. But because we are in this situation, we're just going to have to see who kind of takes off here. So let's go up and dial to the ultra high time frames, come on down, and we'll talk about some good levels to watch this morning, for some potential interaction in the market. We've essentially called the high of the day for the last, I think, 4 days straight. So I think with the exception of yesterday, because we did come right into the 15 and fail for 15 or 20 points there, but we came back up and did break through about 7 points higher and then failed. So I guess we were a little off yesterday, but every other day, essentially, we called the expected area of resistance to the upside, and it failed. So let's see what we have for today. No pressure, right? No pressure here. We've got the 3-month that really has not changed, and the monthly, nothing new to say on those charts. Same thing on the weekly. I mean, everything is just kind of correcting And if you want more detail, again, go back to Monday. And going down to our daily chart, here we are, still stuck within all this garbage over here. There was our 42.12 line that we mentioned on one of our pre-markets. I don't know if it was on Friday of last week, Thursday, or whatever it was. We mentioned this little area here around 12, and then we mentioned this area down here around just about 41.50 to 41.60. So again, this morning it's the same story because we haven't broken out of the range. So we've got that 41.60 to 41.50 below us as the next major area I would expect to have some type of bounce from. Of course, there's plenty of opportunity between that area for some type of bounce, but I'm just looking from the general scheme of the daily chart here and noticing that major support and resistance there. So we'll see what happens down if we break lower this morning. And up above, it's basically the same exact story as well. If we do attempt to break out and we can get through the highs from, I believe it was Wednesday, up there just 7 points above that 15, so 41.22. Excuse me. What's the high here? 44.46. That must have been in the overnight session. So if we get up through 44.46 there, we've got the swing lows back here, right around, let's see what the low is, 44.84 or 44.85, and this other swing low up here at 45.20 quarter. These are two, we've seen this happen all the time, come into the bottom end of a previous day and fail, or at least have some type of reaction, some type of rejection from there and from there. And then we want to consider, I mean, the retracement of the whole push up is over with, right? We've retraced this whole leg up, and now we need to start considering if it starts to retrace back to the highs from the lows that we made at 42.12, I believe 12.75, something like that. And notice the 50% retrace is essentially that swing low, which I like. And the other naked swing low up here, basically the 61.8 retrace, right? And then the 38% retrace of the whole leg is basically the high that I said we need to get through. So I don't even think that's even relevant. We have the high that we need to get through from Wednesday. I think Wednesday's overnight session, if I recall correctly. We got to get through these two swing lows and then this swing low up here at 45.72.75, and they all line up pretty nicely with some other things. So that's what I'm seeing here on the daily chart. Keep in mind those three levels I just mentioned. And let's go start getting into the intraday stuff here. So once again, there's the retracement scheme. You can see that 50% not only lines up with that area we had shaded on our 4-hour chart from all the way back in December. It lines up right where we came down and found support just a few days ago as we were selling off, right? So that level still looks relevant from the 4-hour here. There's that 61 swing low. So that the swing low that lines up with the 61.8 up there, again, that level is 45.72.75. Just a few points above that would be exactly the 61.8. So just keep in mind, if we get outside of this ugly range that we're stuck in here, those are the key levels above us that we want to pay attention to. And we don't want to forget that other naked swing low I mentioned over here at 44.84.75, maybe 44.85 even. You can see we actually came right up to it, and this is what we were probably watching here back on January 20th, I guess, or whatever this was, the 21st, bouncing, coming into the open. We probably, since it's shaded here, I don't remember exactly, but I wouldn't be surprised if that morning we were talking about pushing right up into the low there at 44.84.75. Look at what the high of the day was, 44.87. So it pushed just about 2 points into that swing low back from December, the beginning of December, and then we just failed and continued selling off from there. So all of these levels above, very important. On the flip side of things, if we start to sell off below us here, I don't want to talk about any of the levels that are inside of here, outside of the main kind of general idea that if we're below 50% of the previous day and below our famous orange line, then that's somewhat of a bearish clue. But I don't know if it makes sense talking about the chop area. If we get outside of the chop area to the downside, what do we have below us to start to think about here? And let's zoom all the way out and look at what we're pushing down into. And basically, you know, once we get through previous daily low at 42, let's just say 42.62, this big wick to the downside here does have some areas that kind of stick out to me. And it's going all the way back to over here. And you can see that basically 42.39 was a very, very strong, let's say 35 to 39 here, or 35 to 40, 42.35 to 42.40 there is an area that inside of this big wick on the 4 hour could potentially have some type of stuff going on. But what we're going to do is jump down to the shorter time frames so we can see some of the structures inside of that bar. So let's go down into the 60-minute here. And you can see there's no, actually, let me take that. There are no eye levels down over between 62, which was our major eye level, that it was the low of the day from what, yesterday in the overnight session. Not much below 62 until, oh, that's right. I haven't put anything below there because I didn't expect such a large correction. So I'm going to have to go back and look for some eye levels. So 60 minutes is not going to help me out here in looking into the structure down here because you can't really see anything. So let's go down into the intermediate time frames and see if there's anything down there to keep an eye on coming into the open here. So let's go back. And what was the level I mentioned? I believe it was 42.40. Let me go back on my 4-hour chart. Bear with me here. This is all real-time stuff I'm trying to do here. Yeah, I think it was 42.42. And then if we look at this area down here, again, the 10-minute, I might even still be a little too zoomed out to see all the details. But 42.42, let me go back here. That high, 42.41.50. It's just not enough resolution for me to see anything. I guess we're going to have to go down to our 3-minute here and go down there and see what we have. There we go. At least we can see the general areas where the market was kind of consolidating in. And like I said, 41.50 is the swing high of, let's see, all the way back from like May going into June, you know, of last year. So that was a major swing high. We failed from there and basically didn't come back for like a month. And let me see if I could zoom in my chart over there. So like I said, bear with me, guys. We have plenty of time this morning, so I don't want to just rush through this. I want to show you what I'm looking at here. So 42, 41, 50 is down here. And I guess that's just much further down there. So, like I said, bear with me here. We pushed down into whatever it was, 42.12. There's a really nice major swing high at 41.50 all the way back from mid or end of June there. And if we go zoom into that area, and I don't know why some of these charts are such a pain in the ass to deal with. There's got to be some setting I have on here. So if we zoom in and we look, and remember, this is now a 4-hour chart. This major swing high, 42.41.50. Let me look at this major swing low, 36. And then what's the lows here? 38 and 36. So what I would say is we have a nice little 4-point range from 36 to 40 that had a lot of support and resistance on this higher time frame scale. So coming into this morning, going back to our short time frames, we've got what? Let me go back. Bear with me here, bear with me. So 42.36. Oh, look at that. And I'm going to draw it in as just this 36 to 40 right here. And it looks to me 36 to 40 here, just from a few days ago, is exactly where we came down, found our support, came up into the eye level, failed, came down to that 12. Remember that swing low at 12 was the swing high back from whatever June of last year. And then we came up, we found resistance right at that 36 to 40 area, 37 I guess, pulled back, came back up above it. And remember, we're looking at this micro scale, pulled back right to it and bounced out. So I don't know. To me, that seems like that's going to be relevant here. They could just cut right through it if they start selling off, but we want to be aware of that level right there. I think you guys would agree. This is an area of chop above it, an area chop below it, and then we got above it, pulled back to it, and then started launching out of that box, right? So we've got the structures there and everything. I think I've made a good enough argument for why I like that little zone right there. And unfortunately, what I'll do here is we'll do an F3. Like I said, we have some good time this morning, so I'm not rushing too much here. So I just want to get this on here, 42.36 even. And we'll go in 42.36, 42.36, and we'll make it a dotted line. So there's our 36, and then I'm just going to go over to the current market and shade in basically 36 up to that 40 level, because there is a little bit of a range. It just is what it is. We're looking at that 4-hour chart, so 4 points on a 4-hour, it's really nothing. It's a tick at that point. So if we pull back, that's going to be interesting to watch. Remember, we're just mapping out what levels we want to be concerned with, the major levels where the market seems to come down into, have some type of interaction on the bottom end and the top end. And that is basically it. So if we get through 62, there might be something right there at like 51. Outside of 51, and I'll just mark that. Outside of that right there, we got 51 and then this 36, 37, 38 little section. In fact, the swing high itself is, give me one moment here. That swing high, it's covering my freaking 37.50, right? So I'm going to copy this, paste it, move it right to 37.50 so we visually see it on the chart there. And let me just make this 37.50. I'm spending a lot of time on just this one level, but it was hard to coordinate all the way back to June of last year and figure this out. So it took a little bit of time here. And we still have 10 minutes until the open, so I'm not too worried about time here. So if we break lower and we cannot get through, again, there's our orange line we're testing again. There's our magenta line, there's our red line. If we can't get through these, we can't get through some of our major eye levels within the chop, and it starts pulling back and we can't hold the previous daily low. We've got what, that 42.50, 51. We've got this 42, forgive me, for what was the level? 37.50, the swing high. And then once it gets through there, it's basically right back to 42.12. And then below 42.12, there's a whole bunch down below there, which, we probably need to map out. I just don't have enough time to do it right now. So if they start breaking lower, the idea is to be short, taking profit in front of these two levels and in front of the low. And then if it breaks below that low at 42.12, the idea is you probably want to be short. Now, at some point, the bulls will jump in for a bull run, but the general idea here is we can't get through these major levels above us and we break lower, we want to be short into these levels below. So that's where we'll kind of leave it this morning. You can see these are, in my opinion, some of the most important general levels up above us. You can see them right there. And then below us, we've mapped those out as well. And if it breaks 12, we're going to have to come back and reconsider what we have even further below that level. And I guess on Monday, if we start selling off here on Friday, we'll have that all mapped out for you on Monday. So have a great rest of the day to those out on YouTube. And we're going to jump down to our member section here and start seeing if we can't find some trades on the shorter time frames. Just really quickly here, I made a post in the room that I'm proud of. I came into the market this morning and I mapped out that major swing low back here. In fact, we'll just go, this is the post. Let's just go to the chart here on the 10-minute and show you where I came up with this. So came into the charts this morning. I measured the fib leg of the overnight high to the overnight low, and I noticed that the 61.8 retrace was lining up literally to the tick with this major swing low from basically just after the Globex open yesterday afternoon. So when I saw that, I marked it, and look what happened here in the overnight session. Actually, just before 6 a.m. Pacific time, we came right to it, broke it by 2 ticks, and pulled back, let's see, from 43.22 all the way to 43.0175 for basically a 10-point pullback. Beautiful trade there. And if you look at it from the short time period on the 512 tick chart, look at this. Right into it, pulled back, came right to our 200 moving average, came right to the VWAP, came up to it, peaked up into it to the tick, pulled back, and then eventually came up, pulled back to VWAP and held it. And now where are we? Right in this expected, resistance zone for the bulls. So I'll leave it at that. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.